They set her up to fail, but Karoline Leavitt's clapback left the host and his panel completely speechless. The studio hums with quiet tension. The city skyline glows through the glass windows, but inside, all eyes are on the stage. At the center of it sits Grayson Holt, a name that commands attention in liberal media. He's built his career on razor-sharp monologues, viral takedowns, and that sarcastic confidence that makes his audience cheer and his opponents squirm. Tonight, he's about to take another shot. Across from him, Karoline Leavitt, young, conservative, and completely out of place in this room, or at least that's what everyone assumes. The panelists flanking Grayson exchange knowing smirks, ready for the spectacle. Grayson leans back in his chair, crossing one leg over the other, fingers tapping against the desk like a drummer, counting in the first beat of a performance. "All right, Karoline," he begins, dragging out her name like a teacher indulging a student who just gave a wrong answer. "Let's cut through the fluff. You're young, ambitious, and somehow convinced that the Republican Party isn't just a retirement club with better tax breaks. Tell me, are you here to defend outdated policies, or are you just auditioning for a Fox News primetime slot?" A low chuckle ripples across the panel. Someone shifts in their seat, amused. This is Grayson's routine setting the stage for another takedown. Leavitt doesn't blink. She clasps her hands on the desk, listening, waiting, unrushed, unshaken. Grayson seizes the opening, pushing further. "I mean, let's be real," he continues, adjusting his blazer like he's settling into a chair at his favorite restaurant. "Conservatives love parading people like you around fresh face, camera ready, but at the end of the day, it's the same script. Tax cuts, personal responsibility, some vague nostalgia about the good old days. It's predictable. The only question is, are you in on the joke?" The camera zooms in on his smirk, the panelists watching with thinly veiled amusement. Leavitt tilts her head, expression unreadable. She lets him talk, lets him dig. She doesn't rush to defend herself. "Is that a serious question?" she finally asks, her voice smooth and unshaken. Grayson shrugs, spreading his hands. "Oh, I'm sorry. Did I hit a nerve?" Another chuckle from the panel. Grayson is comfortable now, believing this is going exactly as he planned. But something shifts in Leavitt's expression. Just a flicker of something dangerous. Not anger, not nervousness, but certainty. She leans forward, eyes locked on his. She's about to make this his worst on-air moment yet, but Grayson has no idea. He senses an opportunity. He's been here before, young conservatives trying to hold their own, only to crumble under the weight of his sarcasm and experience. So he leans in, pushes harder. "You know, Karoline," he says, drawing out her name again, "I have to admire your confidence. It takes real dedication to be part of a party that, let's be honest, would rather see women stay in the kitchen than in Congress." The panel erupts in laughter. Even the camera crew chuckles. It's a clean hit. Leavitt's face doesn't change, not a twitch. Grayson notices, but is convinced she's just keeping up a front. He pushes on, thinking he's got her. "And I have to ask," he continues, feigning curiosity, "do you actually believe what you say, or is this just a long-term grift? You know, say the right things, keep the donors happy, maybe land a cushy pundit gig when this all falls apart." One of the panelists, a journalist from an online progressive outlet, smirks and jumps in. "Let's not forget the GOP playbook," she adds, shaking her head. "Find someone young, marketable, and willing to repeat the same tired policies in a fresh package." Honestly, Karoline, do you ever feel like they're just using you? Another round of laughter. The rhythm of the attack picks up. Grayson sees his chance to land the knockout punch.
"Look at your position, Karoline," he presses. "You're defending a party that fights against diversity initiatives while parading you around as their youthful, modern face. Do you see the irony, or are you contractually obligated to ignore it?" A panelist laughs. "Come on, Grayson, don't be mean. Maybe she actually believes all this." Grayson grins, sensing victory. The audience, the cameras, everyone's watching her now, waiting for the inevitable stumble. But Leavitt doesn't blink. Instead, she shifts slightly, straightens her posture, and lets the laughter die out. 2 seconds of silence. The energy in the room changes. The moment is hers now. Are you finished? Grayson blinks. The power just shifted. He's not sure why, but it feels like he's lost control. Leavitt leans forward, hands on the table, her expression unreadable. Are you finished? She repeats, her voice even. Grayson forces a chuckle, shaking his head. Oh, Karoline, don't get all dramatic. No, really, she cuts in, her tone calm and settling. Are you finished? I want to make sure I let you get all your little rehearsed jabs out before I respond. The room tightens. Grayson's smirk falters for a fraction of a second. The panelists shift. The camera crew adjusts. Instinctively, they weren't expecting this. Leavitt tilts her head, not smiling, not frowning, just watching. Then, she speaks. See, Grayson, this is what you do. You set people up with smug little sound bites, get your panel to laugh, and then expect your guests to stumble, get defensive, or shrink. And usually, it works. But here's the problem, you didn't do your homework on me. Grayson lets out a dry laugh. Oh, believe me, Karoline, I know. You didn't, she interrupts, voice steady. Because if you had, you'd know I don't fold. And I certainly don't let people like you define me. The room is dead silent now. For the first time, Grayson sits up a little straighter. He's not in control anymore. Leavitt shifts her weight, her voice cutting through the tension just enough to make sure everyone hears her. You call me a token, a puppet, she begins, her tone sharp. You act like I have no agency, no original thoughts, like I'm just here to regurgitate talking points. But here's the irony, you're the one sticking to a script. You came in here with the same tired attacks, the same predictable insults, because that's all you know how to do. Mock, dismiss, belittle, that's your entire playbook. And yet, I'm the one who's supposed to lack originality. A sharp pause. Grayson has no immediate response. Leavitt doesn't give him room to breathe. You sit there and act like you care about women having a voice. She continues, but the second one speaks up in a way that doesn't fit your narrative. You mock her. You act like you care about young people being engaged in politics, but if they're not reading straight from your script, you try to discredit them. You talk about progress, but the second someone challenges you, you fall right back into the same condescending routine.
She leans back finally, a smile, but it's not friendly. You don't want a conversation, Grayson. You want a punching bag. And I'm not here to be one. Grayson blinks, thrown off balance. The panelists exchange looks. One clears their throat, shifting in their seat. The confidence in the room has evaporated. The camera zooms in slightly, capturing the rarest thing on a live political show. Actual silence. Leavitt just flipped the entire dynamic in under 2 minutes. And for the first time in his career, Grayson Holt has nothing to say. For a moment, no one speaks. The silence isn't just awkward, it's heavy. Grayson tightens his jaw, quickly forcing a chuckle, trying to regain control. Wow, Karoline, that was quite the little speech. Did you practice that in the mirror this morning? A weak attempt at regaining dominance, but it falls flat. No one laughs this time. One of the panelists clears their throat, glancing at the camera crew, as if silently asking, "Are we still live?" Leavitt doesn't flinch. She just watches him, her confidence unwavering. And then, suddenly, the show cuts to commercial. Not because it was planned, not because they wrapped up naturally, but because someone in the control room panicked. The moment the broadcast goes dark, Twitter explodes. Clips from the exchange spread like wildfire. Holy Karoline just destroyed Grayson Holt on Live TV. They literally had to cut to commercial. This was a massacre. I've never seen him this speechless before. This is insane. The video racks up millions of views in hours. Even people who don't follow politics are hooked. Liberal commentators scramble to spin the narrative. Some downplay the moment, saying Grayson was just letting her talk. Others say she was being overly dramatic or just another conservative playing the victim. But it doesn't work. The clip speaks for itself. And then things get worse for Grayson. The network's inbox is flooded. People demand a response. The ratings from the segment come in, and while they're through the roof, the engagement is brutal. Grayson's usual supporters aren't rallying behind him. Instead, some are quietly questioning his tactics. Did he actually get outplayed? Why didn't he fire back? Why did they cut to commercials so fast? The panelists, who had laughed earlier, start distancing themselves. One of them, a journalist from a progressive news outlet, tweets, "To be clear, I don't think Grayson was ready for that moment." It was uncomfortable, and cutting to commercial only made it worse, which is the professional way of saying he choked. Grayson knows it too, and now he has to make a choice: double down or do damage control. But either way, the damage is already done.
Grayson Holt is no stranger to controversy, but this feels different. By the time the show wraps, his phone is already blowing up texts from producers, network executives, his PR team. Everyone is panicking. He scrolls through Twitter. Every third post is a clip of his face frozen in silence as Karoline dismantles him. Memes flood in. Grayson Holt, Dipak, CI, has stopped working. When your entire personality is smug. But it backfires the moment you realize she wasn't playing defense. The clip is on every major news site. Before he even leaves the studio, the narrative is already set. Grayson Holt gets humiliated on live television. He slams his phone down. This isn't just bad, it's career-threatening. His producer calls. "We need a statement." Damage control is standard in media, but this time they're scrambling. The plan: frame it as Grayson being gracious, giving Karoline a platform to share her perspective. Minutes later, his PR team puts out a tweet from his account. "Great conversation tonight with Karoline Leavitt. We don't always agree, but these discussions are important for democracy. Looking forward to more debates like this."
No one buys it. The replies are brutal. "Dude, you got cooked. Just take the L. Why are you pretending you let this happen? You got wrecked." This is the PR equivalent of pretending you meant to trip on stage. The network isn't happy, not because of the viral moment, but because of how bad he looked. One executive schedules an emergency meeting. There's talk of restructuring the panel format to avoid another disaster like this.
A leaked email circulates online. It's from an unnamed producer at the network. "We should have cut to commercials sooner. This was a disaster." The leak only makes things worse. Now people know the commercial break wasn't routine. It was a panic move. Grayson Holt was losing so badly, they had to pull the plug, and now everyone is talking about it.
Meanwhile, Karoline's doing nothing. No frantic tweets, no press statements, no victory lap, just a single post on her account. Let people say what they want. The truth always speaks for itself. The simplicity of it makes it hit even harder. By the next morning, it's Grayson Holt's reputation that's hanging in the balance. But the true impact is about to hit even harder. By the next morning, Grayson Holt is everywhere, but not in the way he's used to. Cable news shows are analyzing the moment. Political commentators, both left and right, are picking apart why he failed. Some liberal hosts try to downplay it, saying it wasn't that bad. He just let her talk too long, but others aren't so kind. This is what happens when you get too comfortable. Attacking people instead of debating them. The real hit comes when late-night comedians play the clip. Pausing on Grayson's stunned silence, one host jokes, "This is the look of a man realizing his entire personality is collapsing." The audience roars with laughter. Even his own fans can't defend him. Karoline doesn't just win the argument, she becomes the story.
Conservative media calls it one of TV's greatest takedowns. Her response floods social media, and suddenly, she's not just a young Republican. She's the woman who walked into a hostile room and walked out untouchable. Invitations pour in, more interviews, bigger platforms, even a rumored book deal. Those who dismissed her before now pay attention.
Meanwhile, Grayson Holt, for the first time in his career, isn't setting the conversation. He's the conversation. His show's ratings spike, but not in a good way. People are watching, waiting for him to mess up again. The network gets nervous. Executives hold meetings, and a senior producer steps down. Grayson is damaged goods. Karoline cements herself as a rising force in politics. Days pass, but the clip keeps circulating. This isn't just a debate, it's a shift. People from both sides notice. Some see it as a warning not to underestimate your opponent. Others see it as proof that authenticity beats performance. The lesson is clear. Grayson built his career on mockery and scripted takedowns, but it backfired. His loss wasn't just one conversation, it shattered the illusion. People saw him lose control, and once that happens, the spell is broken. Karoline didn't win by yelling louder or insulting more. She stayed calm, called out the game Grayson was playing, and made him the one on defense.
Grayson Holt's career isn't over, but it's changed. His confidence won't hit the same. His audience saw him struggle. His critics saw him exposed. Karoline's viral moment wasn't just a win, it was a career. Defining moment, it turned mockery into a movement. The truth, we all face moments like this. Maybe not on live TV, but in our own way. We all get tested. We all face moments where someone tries to belittle us, expecting us to fold. How we handle them changes everything. Do you let them define you, or do you take control? That's the real lesson here. Was this a strategic takedown by Karoline, or pure confidence in action? And what does it say about modern media? Drop your thoughts in the comments, let's talk. For more stories like this, subscribe because trust me, there's plenty more to uncover.